And you want a street fight? I break all the ribs in his body. Since I fought him, it's been like that. And you can tell him that because I got proof. Me and punch you.
There have been rivalries in boxing history built on titles, money, and the politics of the sport, but the feud between Larry Holmes and Trevor Berbick was rooted in something far more volatile: personal disrespect, wounded pride, and a level of animosity that refused to die quietly after the final bell. It's one thing for two fighters to settle their differences inside the ropes, but when Holmes chased Berbick outside a venue years later, climbed onto the roof of a parked limousine in broad daylight, and hurled himself feet first into Berbick's chest while the cameras rolled, it became clear that this wasn't a boxing rivalry anymore. But to understand how things reached that point, to understand why one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time risked his reputation just to make sure Berbick got the message, you have to go back to the night it all began, April 11th, 1981, when a polished and undefeated Larry Holmes defended his WBC crown against a brash, unpredictable challenger who never once considered staying in his lane. This wasn't just another title defense, and Trevor Berbick wasn't just another contender looking for a payday. This was the night the bad blood really started flowing, and neither of them would ever let it go.
The baddest heavyweight in the world today. There's nobody in the world could whoop me. Nobody.
By the time Larry Holmes stepped into the ring in April of 1981, he wasn't just holding the WBC heavyweight title. He was defending it for the 9th time and riding a 36-fight win streak that included 27 knockouts. But even with all that, Holmes still felt like he had something to prove. He was a champion without the adoration, a technician in a division that celebrated power, and a man constantly forced to answer to the ghost of Muhammad Ali. That ghost had become very real just 6 months earlier, when Holmes fought Ali in a match that was sold as a generational clash, but ended up looking more like a one-sided beating. Holmes dominated Ali from the first round, and while most fighters would have celebrated retiring the greatest, Holmes found little satisfaction in the moment. He cried in the locker room after the fight, not because it was hard, but because it was sad. Still, in the eyes of the boxing world, he had arrived. The belt was his, the stage was his, and now, with Ali behind him, many expected Holmes to clean out the rest of the division without much resistance. But even with the dominance, there was resentment. Holmes was respected, yes, but rarely loved. He didn't have Ali's flair, and he didn't have Foreman's menace. What he had was a vicious jab, a granite chin, and a mindset that refused to accept being second to anyone. Which is why, when Trevor Berbick started talking, Holmes didn't brush it off. He took it personally.
I feel that I have to get cocky and to get mean. To let people know that you just can't walk over top of me.
If Holmes represented control, Berbick was chaos. At 18 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, the Jamaican-born fighter was hardly seen as a serious threat. He had power, sure, 16 knockouts by that point, but he was rough around the edges, wild in his movement, and completely unpredictable outside the ring. Berbick didn't just come to fight, he came to antagonize. In the weeks leading up to the bout, he questioned Holmes' status as champion, claimed the division was soft, and did everything short of climbing into the man's hotel room just to get under his skin. For Berbick, the insults weren't just strategy, they were instinct. He thrived on tension and fed off confrontation. He wasn't the kind of fighter to shake hands at the weigh-in and smile for cameras. He was the kind who made things uncomfortable and didn't care who liked it.
You all take me for an underdog in this fight, but I'll tell you one thing. If this fight goes 10 rounds, I'm going to beat him.
This would be his first fight in the United States, and the odds weren't just against him, they were laughable. Holmes was expected to finish him early, cruise through the night, and move on to bigger names. But Berbick had no plans to be another name. He saw Holmes as an overrated technician, a paper champion with no fire left. When fight night arrived, the stage was set for what most expected to be another routine title defense. But from the moment the bell rang, it was clear that Trevor Berbick hadn't just come to survive, and Larry Holmes hadn't come to let anything slide. This was no longer about rankings or belts, it was about respect, and neither man was willing to give an inch.
The hands of Bernardo Mercado. Round 1, heavyweight championship here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Berbick comes right after. Somewhat punching ability. You saw Berbick taunting Larry Holmes. That's one of those things that you sit up at night after the fight and say, why'd I do that? That his left jab is as good as most people's left. Berbick has not attempted to do so, and Holmes, quick left jab. Berbick again drops his
now against a guy like Larry Holmes. Holmes is fought and the judges.
Holmes playing just a bit of a waiting game now, waiting for Berbick to come at him. Arms down just for a moment. Berbick, a couple of lefts, one to the stomach.
It works. The little intimidation, the taunt, and I just hate to be shown up.
Corners between rounds, I think you'll find it to be very fast. And I think maybe he got to Larry Holmes a little bit there.
Berbick started to say, "Here I am, sucker, come and get me."
Holmes was the tauntee, but Larry Holmes is the
It comes roundhouse, it comes over and over.
Back at the champion of Trevor Berbick, scored cleanly and wobbled the challenger's left. Remember, Larry Holmes
Home means business.
Larry Holmes answered him that time. Right hand, flicking left jab up. On and fight, looping right. There's a lunging right hand, and the right hand counter work on the body. Go downstairs, and there's a combination that scores against the champion, right to the head.
By round 3, Holmes had started to get a feel for Berbick's rhythm, landing clean jabs and testing combinations that sent the challenger stumbling back. But Berbick responded with body shots and relentless pressure, taunting Holmes mid-fight and proving he wasn't just there to survive, he was there to get under the champion's skin and stay standing while doing it.
By Larry Holmes, and Berbick again says...
Body shots. Speed. I mean, he's as quick as a lightweight.
And again a combination, but at least he's not awed by him, I have to say that. And a right hand there by Larry Holmes. Right hand and a left. Holmes scoring in combinations against Berbick. If there's any question, but those shots to the body by Larry Holmes in the last gloves of Trevor Berbick again. Larry Holmes, some good solid.
Goes his left jab and waits to get
Holmes has been doing the most damage. But short.
That was a very dangerous punch that
Larry Holmes is.
Balance and a lot of style now. Moving. It's going to follow.
Berbick taunts his man. Berbick with a wild left hand comes back, has Holmes against the ropes. And Holmes just kind of fends him off.
Neck, Larry, come on.
Give you a chance to get set. What's happening now is Trevor Berbick is trying to follow that strategy, and he is being hammered mercilessly by the champion Larry Holmes. Slowed down a step. And Berbick catches the champion with a right hand on the way in. Holmes is against the ropes as Berbick bangs away to the body, and Holmes holds on for a moment.
Now here we're going to see a real fight. This boxing match probably
Going a little bit there, I think.
Berbick seemed to be a little winded.
Try to bang away to the body, and there's enough control of the fight here. We're in the 5th round. That punch seemed to have some...
Cut the tree, Jack, cut the tree!
There's a 5 seconds near the end of the round here. Trevor Berbick.
As far as cutting the ring off and carrying the fight to Holmes. And
again.
And waiting for an opportunity to let it go.
For a higher degree of success than he has in the past. Spins him around. Hits him. So, did you expect Trevor?
No.
Well, providing
but this isn't it.
Following what he thought was a low blow. And Berbick bores in on the champion now.
By Mother Nature. He has good
Two hands are free, Berbick. Punch your way out, make it behind the neck.
Referee. Right above us now, and Berbick. And again to the body. And Holmes gets out of the corner, right above us. Larry Holmes has not really scored a big punch. And all of those blows going on the arms, except the right hand of the head that did get in on Trevor Berbick. And both fighters now banging away in Larry Holmes' corner. Holmes getting the better of it right now.
Round 8 was where Berbick started showing what made him so frustrating to fight. He was eating punches but never breaking, walking through jabs like rain, and landing occasional body shots that kept Holmes honest. It was ugly, it was scrappy, but it was survival, and somehow Berbick was still in the fight.
There is another good left hand by Berbick. Lunges in with the right hand lead.
Find a way to fight a perfect round for himself. Of the two.
Larry Holmes' jabs, which have become more effective in the last 2 rounds.
He knows Holmes tried to
out 2 of his opponents, 2 in this. And a right hand, that's consistently with that right hand of the body. Again, a right hand of the... Doesn't appear to be slowing. And again, the right hand dumps right into the rib cage. Sort of deflect, and there's a right hand lead that again staggers Trevor Berbick, but Berbick... And another right hand. Right uppercut that time, scores to the chest of Larry Holmes. And we go to round 10.
It's strictly business, man. He's going to stop putting his punch.
Berbick doesn't have to run away and hide at it downstairs. That jab really has got the root to
work his way to the right hand.
Holmes right now scoring with that jab almost at will, and there's a right hand.
A great deal of right hands is because he has that big
and a comedy jab.
I think at this point now, with the way that Ward for going, this is the first time he's going past.
It's really hard to describe. Yeah, it's easy to lose sight. 3 left jabs and then come with a right hand lead.
Totally intimidated by Holmes, even though it doesn't look it.
Once again, quite a while. Again, the left jab as Holmes dances around it. 2 more left jabs. How effective Trevor Berbick's left jab is. Berbick tries to fight back. Chases.
By round 12, both men were tired, but Holmes was still laser sharp, picking his moments, landing combinations, slipping counters, and slowly draining what was left of Berbick's tank. Berbick still had flashes, still had heart, but Holmes had taken away everything else. His rhythm, his confidence, and the crowd's belief that an upset was coming.
Leverage. Combination Holmes and another left cross to the chin of Trevor Berbick, who covers up and now fights back. Berbick gets it close, another right hand right to the chin of Trevor Berbick, who comes right back to the champion. Every punch, a left hand to the top of the head by Holmes, and a right hand to the body.
Well, at this point now, anything can happen. They're both throwing punches from all angles, all directions.
Really something to be learned both for the champion and the challenger. Larry Holmes, a tactic that he might have been wise to heed during the... And Holmes started to lead yells and suddenly has to cover up. More, Berbick swarms home, man. Holmes spins him around, sticks out a couple of jabs, comes back with a combination, and there's a right hand that buckles the legs of Berbick as we get the water.
And he's coming on and trying his best. Looking at Berbick's approach now.
Both men seem to have slowed a step here. They're often enough to keep him off balance. And there's another left jab, and another to the top of the head of Trevor Berbick. And the right hand misses. Step back. Come on, Trevor. Berbick gets one left hand into the side of the head.
The way that Berbick is smart.
Counter punch with the right hand that time by Larry Holmes off of lunge. Larry Holmes' longest fights. He went 12 rounds with Mike Weaver. He went 12 rounds. Final round, regardless of how it goes. 2 minutes and 45 seconds up the nose. He has to go get the champion, and that is a chore that is easier said than done.
Quality of champ that he is, he really feels that Berbick has no business being a...
Discredit Larry Holmes, because Holmes has fought a very, very intelligent fight. He has proven that he did not take this fight lightly. And a good left tension with this guy. Holmes misses that time with a looping left. There's a right hand by the champion. Mark now.
Larry Holmes is truly a champion. Here he's fighting like a champion.
And a right hand by Berbick scores on the champion's chin. 45 seconds remain in the fight. 31 seconds remain. Right hand spins Berbick into the ropes by Larry Holmes. And another right hand by Holmes as Berbick comes back with his head on his shoulder, and a left hand by the champion. They're in Berbick's corner now with 15 seconds to go in the fight.
The winner by unanimous decision, and still the heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes.
When the final bell rang, the result wasn't in doubt. Holmes had won a clear unanimous decision and retained his title. extending his undefeated record and proving, once again, that skill, patience, and ring IQ could nullify chaos. But Berbick had done something few expected. He went the full 15 rounds with one of the most dominant heavyweights of his era, and he never once looked like a man who came to lie down. But for all the bad blood that boiled over in the ring that night, the truth is, the fight wasn't what people would remember most. Their real headline moment wouldn't happen under the lights of Caesar's palace, but on the hood of a limousine 10 years later, when one man said the wrong thing, and the other decided he wasn't finished throwing punches. It was 1991, a full decade after their fight, and somehow Holmes and Berbick were still finding ways to trade blows, this time outside a hotel in Florida. Berbick had accused Holmes of breaking up his marriage and aired it publicly in front of reporters. Holmes, never one to let disrespect slide, came storming out of his hotel room and straight into a brawl. What happened next would become one of the most infamous moments in boxing history. Holmes would later claim Berbick pushed him too far. Berbick would never get a second fight. And when Berbick was murdered in 2006, Holmes offered no kind words, simply saying, "God don't like ugly." Because whatever happened in the ring in 1981 didn't settle it, not for Holmes, not for Berbick, and certainly not for the kind of bad blood that never needed a rematch to keep burning.